A very good afternoon to all my participants. Bharti Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management BVI CAM welcomes you all to the third day of session 2 of this 2-week refresher course on Engineering, Physical Sciences and Management. I welcome amongst us our expert speaker, Professor D.K. Lobiyal, School of Systems and Computer Sciences, JNU, New Delhi. Dr. Lobiyal is a professor in the School of Computer and System Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India, since 2010. He has served at the position of Dean in the School of Computer and System Sciences from July 2017 to July 2019. He has also worked as an associate professor from 2004 to 2010 and before this as an assistant professor from 1997 to 2004 in the same university. Professor Lobiyal obtained his PhD in Computer Science, Natural Language Processing in 1996 and MTech in Computer Science in 91 from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He obtained his BTech in Computer Science in 1988 from Institute of Engineering and Technology, Lucknow University. Sir has been actively engaged in teaching and research in the university for over last 23 years. During this period, 34 PhD and around 15 MTech students have been awarded degree under his supervision. His areas of research interest include wireless network, ad hoc and sensors, natural language processing, and computational neuroscience. He has also published more than 100 articles in international journals of repute, including IEEE, ACM Elsevier, Wiley, and Springer. In addition, he has also published more than 80 research articles in the international or national conferences. A senior member of IEEE Society, fellow of IET India, and member of CSI India, Sir has wide experience of research and the art of doing it. I welcome you, sir, and I will request you now to enlighten the House on the art of writing proposals for research projects. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ritika and Professor Huda Saab for giving me this opportunity all the time to interact with the young minds, in a sense, those who are willing to write research proposals working at different places. I think it's a good idea to share what small or whatever we have learned through this journey. Learning is always an open field. And we keep on learning, and nobody is perfect in writing projects or doing research. It's a very ongoing process, and we evolve over the period of time. We learn because there's certain things which are not taught, they have to be learned. And before I share my slide, I think I must acknowledge that when I did my PhD, my supervisor is also involved me in writing of grant proposals. I think that time, at times students feel that this is extra work I am being asked to do by the supervisor, but ultimately today I realize it has a great bearing on my learning, because I learned which I would have been otherwise learning very late stage, but I started learning at early stage, and which always gave me an advantage over the other colleagues who joined together. So that is always a good exercise, which you feel at times a burden appears to be a blessing at times. I think I must pay my what you call, because my supervisor is no more. It's a homage one way, and it's my acknowledgement to him that I have learned many things through him. So this is what I'll share today. But let me share my slides.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can. Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. So that's what it is. But now this writing grant proposal has become one of the almost mandatory or compulsory requirement in the Indian institutions now. Not only in terms of the API score which you get for your promotion, that is one of the requirements. That if you have a project more than 10 lakh, you get 10 points completed, and ongoing project 10 lakh, you get 5 points. There are certain API points for the project which you bring to our institutions. But nevertheless, I don't feel that the bringing project to an institution is important because of the API score. Because if you don't get API score in projects, probably you may get API score in other parts of the requirement and still complete the API requirement without having a project. But even if you do not have a project and you do not get but important point for bringing a research proposal is that you also have a contribution to the institution where you are working, basically. That in terms of project research grant also gives certain advantage or edge to the institution where you work. And your contribution to the institution is not always measured in terms of what you teach in the your contribution, that how much projects you have brought, though the institution may not be directly getting any financial assistance, but at least the institution also gets a name and fame. That is where it has importance. That is how it has become a mandatory or compulsory part. So no, it should be thought that it has to be brought only with this region. Again, after having said this, not all may agree, because this I said yesterday, so this is repeating. But I feel that there are certain tips can be helpful at when you are a novice person who is willing to write grant proposals, whatever way it may be. Then probably certain tips, or it may be a good beginning for learners to learn and how to write and how to thought about it. So project is not only writing the proposal; it is about the thinking. How do you think about a project is equally important. So that is what the whole idea of this presentation is. And now the topics which I am going to cover here is, now I'll give a small introduction. Why do we need to have a project, and how project, what should we look in the project? Then certain key components of a project, regardless of your discipline, your area, project, those common points must be there in all the projects. However, there may be a different requirement at different projects. But then there are certain areas of project. The moment I am saying areas, my focus is not the research areas where government or the funding agencies may give you projects, or you have a possibility of getting project. That is what the area means. And then I'll talk of the types of projects. They're individual. There are different kinds of projects given by various institutions. We can have a very generalized structure of a project proposal. What is to be written in that? What is to be put in the project proposal? And there could be very general guidelines. And then specific projects may have a specific requirement, and that also has to be filled in. So that is what we'll talk about. Then not only writing projects is important, but submit the project, and you are also asked to go there and then give a presentation. And presentation is for a limited duration, and therefore how do you present your project is equally important. And probably you to give the detailed description or details of a project you have written in the proposal, but in a short period, how to give the presentation, and what are the important parts which you must present there, so that the probability or the possibility of your getting a project may increase. I'm not saying that will ensure you the project, but the chances will increase. There are other factors as well which I told you. But then finally comes, once you have taken a project, then you have to execute project. And execution, I cannot talk how to execute. That depends on the project requirement, institutional requirement. While you are doing progress report in between, at the end of the year or 6 monthly, whatever the requirement of project is, then you have to make a progress report. Then how to make that progress report, what should be there, that what we'll talk in this. Then finally, when you complete a project, then you have to write a final project report. That is to be submitted to the sponsoring agency. So we'll talk on that. Then finally, yes, I'll conclude my lecture. This is how I'll move. This is the outline. in the course of my lecture. Now, let us begin with why do we need to have a project? Now, one is to meet the expenditure of conducting research. Now, the moment I say of conducting research, many of us, those who are the mathematics, maybe computer science, and social science, many at times you feel, why do we need a project? Because there are a lot of things to be done. It becomes at times more of a managerial job than a researcher at times, because you have to keep all the records, you have to run here and there, and also tolls you because it puts burden on you of extra work. Not you did it with the sake of research, but you are landing with doing a lot of managerial work. So you think, why do I need? Many people don't do, and I put this line because I remember in my department when I joined, then always used to be a discussion that project क्या करना बेकार है, भागादौड़ी करनी पड़ती है, doesn't do anything, do research, write research papers and publish. That was the discussion used to be by some people. People who have different opinions, the difference of opinion at this point here. Now, it's not only that whether you have to do managerial work or not, but look at the discipline as well. If I talk of biological sciences, where they need a lot of expenditures to conduct their research, and a teacher in the biology cannot admit a PhD student, I think, unless he or she has at least 5 lakh rupees to spend on the student, because all chemicals have to be purchased for conducting of the research in a good institution. Otherwise, theoretically, you do anything doesn't matter. But in biological sciences, when I interact with my, they said, yes, we spend at least 5 lakh rupees for a PhD. Until unless we ensure that we have 5 lakh rupees, we cannot admit a student for PhD work. Now look at the expenditure they need for conducting their research, because they need chemicals, good quality chemicals, which cost huge money. And no institution in the country, especially I'm talking of the government, are in a position to provide that kind of funding for conducting research. Yes, you have department, you have teachers, you say, oh, do your research. And then you say you are not publishing high quality journals, you are not producing PhD, but the kind of conducive environment, the infrastructure available is really very not in good situation. So my biological friends need money. So that is why they write projects, and then they get funding from there. Then they take PhD students. That is what a good institution, you take IITs, you take IITs, you take. That is how the research is being managed. Even in computer science, if you do research on some area which is really a practical and field implementation, then you need funding. If you have to work on wireless sensor network, you need a project. If you have to really see how the wireless sensor network works, from where do you get the grant? Right? Only simulation, running certain programs. Yes, you will be able to publish papers fine. And you may get a promotion, I may get a promotion, but whether really that research has certain significance or relevance or not, how much, has to be measured by real implementation at times. So good institutions have enough money. Probably some students may have their own expenditure they spend here and there, then take admission and do this, but not all. So we really need funds to meet that expenditure. This is one reason, very important reason. Therefore, I took a little longer time on that. Second is, yes, knowledge investment is equally important, because we do a lot of theoretical work and simulation work, but we do not know whether anything we developed and simulated and theoretically, whether it will actually work practically or not. And that to enhance that knowledge, we really need to implement things which are practical. And that is only possible through funding. Of course, I said to increase API point, as I said in the beginning, but that I don't consider a big point. But in addition to API, even if you do not have an API, it is also a good indicator of promotion. Some of the NITs and NITCs, oh, you have not brought any project to the institution, therefore you will not be promoted. The reason is because the individual contribution to the development of the institution is being assessed by through a project, whether you have brought it or not. Because international ranking, when you go on the, because they also talk about the projects and the funding you have brought in. So therefore, it becomes important from that point of view. Then now, when you talk of project, then you should be looking at the agencies and the institutions which gives funds for running of projects. You can look for many private agencies like Bharti Airtel make a project on something on uh, running of a project like mobile communication, or some even other private agencies may grant you. Wipro may grant, some others may grant, but that is not very common. Generally, these fundings are given by government agencies. At least India, I'm not talking of the Western countries where funding also come from CSR component of the private organization, but India that culture has not come yet. Rather, this CSR component is going on the campaigning of election or whatever you call. I'm not going in that direction, other kind of, but that should have been spent on research project. That is not happening. But mostly we on the government funding agencies. So that is what I said. And then if you identify which are the government agencies, those who provide you funds, then they have their own guidelines of guidelines. So you have to look at the guidelines of the funding agency. And some of the funding agencies, I remember the DST, Department of Science and Technology, probably now we may have in future with the new education policy implemented, a national funding research funding agency, funding, NRF, National Research Funding. Now that may be, and that will grant funding to all. Probably I don't know whether DST, DBT, all will be merged in NRF. They will be subcomponent of NRF, or what kind of structure will evolve. That time will tell. But right now, at today, we have Department of Science and Technology, which provides you funds in different areas of science and technology, and we have Department of Biotechnology, which provides funds for development of biological research, life science related and biotechnology related, molecular medicine, lot of areas. And funds run in crores as well, and from lakhs to crores, depending on the requirement and project size. And one of the key funding agency was Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, which we used to call it earlier a Department of Electronics, long back before it became a part of ministry. And at that time, we took some projects from there. That is why I remember. And all projects on language development technology has emerged from DOE. In late 90s, it used to give funds in crores of rupees. Can you imagine 1990? You get 1 crore for development of some translation project. That is how at the, because we also work on certain projects from there. It provides project on security, cyber security as well. There are different cells. They have a media center, they have a cyber security cell, they have a translation, they have a network, that is ERNet, and they have a lot of areas like this where they give grants. Then we have AICT, All India Council of Technical Education, which larger TT probably as an individual we have a possibility of getting smaller projects also. This and in addition to this, you have University Grant Commission, small projects, not big projects, especially in social sciences, not in sciences. And then you have DRDO, Defense Research and Development. They also give projects at times. Generally, they do there, but they also give. They're given a lot of projects to ISI Calcutta or other mathematical institutions where they work on basically security aspect, cryptography, cryptology, so that is where they also fund. Then Department of Languages also gives small funding, not much. Then for especially for social scientists, there's the Indian Council of Social Science Research, which also gives a project, but not very large, but small. Also, we have Indian Council of Historical Research, ICHR. They also give small projects to for historical research. So a lot of government agencies, except ICSR or ICHR, remaining or Department of Languages, the rest of the institutions provide projects for science and technology. So there has been a large project granting agencies for science and technology in the country. But They have their all different requirements that you have to see, and they have different kind of projects, and that you have to see. You have to fulfill certain guidelines from there. Now, after having said this, any project proposal you write, whether it is a research proposal, which I talked yesterday, or you write a common comfort has to be there. Now, you must know what research problem you are taking. It's a description. What is this problem all about? Research gaps there you have to identify, and then you should have a logic that these are really a gap and they need to be overcome or to be fulfilled. That is what the whole. You must write the detailed description of a project, and then definitely you should build up an argument why this project or this research problem is important. So this project is also, you have to give a research problem. You must give an argument why it is significant, why it is important. If you don't give the importance and significance of that research, it cannot be accepted. Nobody will say you can't give any. I'll develop such a theorem doesn't mean anything, but it must be to be used somewhere. It's finding where it will be used, what impact it will do on the society if I implement that project. That should be given. Then, so a solid logical argument has to be made. Then you must the great details of the literature review here. It's not only the academic work which you are doing, but you also must see here that certain projects which are being done in that area, that has to become as a part of reference, a literature review. Like in research, we only go for the papers, we see the journal paper, conference paper, but here in addition to journal, conference or other papers, you must also have a knowledge about the kind of project related to that problem are being run world over. If we do certain kind of project on ad hoc wireless sensor network like monitoring of animal life, I must know that what kind of projects are running worldwide. See, Australian government or Australian agency long back in 90s started with the wireless sensor project of monitoring whale population in the Australian Sea. They started monitoring animal population. And India started with the project on tiger population in the Sundarban Delta. So now you should have a worldwide knowledge where people are doing what, right? If you are working on underground sensor network, you must know that the Gulf region or the Arab region has implemented a project on oil mining, where they monitor through the sensor network the mining underground, that how what kind of soil, whether it is very solid or very loose, what kind of soil is there, they monitor so that accident doesn't take place. Before I implement this for coal mining in India, if somebody is interested that I will do a project and I will monitor a coal mine through wireless sensor network, you must know this, there is a project running in Gulf, or oil mining, there is a project running in such and such area for this. All these kind of knowledge has to be there to really give a detailed literature review in addition to the research papers published in different domains. And then after having said this, you must have the great details of the methodology you are going to follow. The moment I say methodology now, how are you going to conduct your research? The entire research process, which I talked about yesterday, the plan, the research plan, that will include how do you collect your data if you have to go to the field or not, or how will you conduct your experiments, what algorithms and techniques and protocols you are going to use in your project, or you are going to develop or implement, and then what kind of result you are expecting, right? And how will you evaluate your results, which will come out as a product of running of your project? How do you evaluate your results? What are the evaluation mechanism you will use or the techniques you will use for evaluating the project? Details must be description of the project. And probably you also need how much money you need for running this project. If I part aside, but the great details of conducting techniques, conduct research is required. That plan has to be made in detail. And how much time we are going to take is also part of this entire methodology, And not only the how much time you are going to take, you must also talk about at what part of time or every 6 months, what is your expected outcome, or after end of every year, what is your expected outcome. This is what the entire plan or the research methodology has to be, proposed methodology has to be uh, given in detail in the project. So that any project you take, this is what is common. Then you must also be given, if you are able to successfully implement this project, given the fund, only then the government agency will give you the fund. Until you justify, yes, I'll give this project and gives us money. And you are very well said, this is how you'll implement it, these are the tools you use, these are the techniques you use, I give you the money. But what will happen after doing this? Now the question is, yes, if this is the outcome, and what are going to be your findings of this project? So if you get some findings, then where are you going to use these findings? That is important, right? Like say, for example, in social science research, especially, it may happen that the research findings are or will help a social science researcher to make policy, government policies for implementing or certain facilities, certain kind of facility or welfare of the people. The policies has to be devised based on the research finding. This is one of the way that the findings will be used. And if you are a scientist, then you are developing a technology, then where that technology will be used and to whom you will transfer this technology, how this technology can be used, right? If you make some product in the agricultural science, we're going to take them. The farmer, if they are going to take, then how will you deliver it to a farmer? You are not going to roam around the country and the farmer ko ek ek karke baatenge, nahi. But you should have a mechanism that how will you distribute to the farmers, whether it is feasible or not. Where these findings are going to be used and how these findings are going to be used, that must also be clearly specified in the project. Only then the agency will be satisfied with your answer. So any project, regardless of the agency from where you are taking the project, will require this much minimum to be described, to be given in the project proposal, right? We'll talk in detail. So that is what these are the key component of a grant proposal, and where I have not talked yet about the money and other things that when I go in detail, I'll talk about. Then, if you look at the areas of projects, when I said it's a different angle, not the areas of research. Generally, the project sanctioning or sponsoring agencies divide their projects in the three larger areas. These are common names, but some agency may say some other name. That is a different issue. But they are broader areas, and whatever name they give, you can correlate very well in these. You may get a project in the basic research, where you try to do some fundamental research. And basic research means we'll try to do develop some concept, try to prove certain theorems, and try to develop certain theories. And this is how the basic projects are. And but probably most difficult ones, and which may not even end up with completion or giving any fruitful results as well. So therefore, the basic research, when you go, this is one area, any sponsoring agency may give funds. And the second area is the thrust area. Thrust area means the area for research which is very relevant at a given point of time for the society, for the industry, for any organization, for the welfare of the state, country. State means country. I am referring to not the state of India. So that is what it means. So has an impact and needs immediate solution. That is what the thrust area means. These are the real problems. We need immediate solution for these purposes, and these are called thrust area. This is one. And third area, by and large, maybe where certain developmental, you know the research outcome, this is possibilities, but you need to develop certain products or provide certain services. That is another area of project. right? Okay, I have these technology available with the government, and who is going to develop the product for that, right? Or make equipment if it is hardware related kind of project. And you don't need to really develop techniques and do the research, but you only have to work on the development, the techniques, tools, and all things are known, and you should be able to join and make products. Or services, I said yes, we provide certain kind of services today, and then like if I'll give examples later on. So the three major areas of project. Now, but if you look at the basic research, this is the area where not much grants are available with the funding agencies because whatever the region may be, because a basic research is carry out, will not find many takers for carrying out basic research. One, and there are not much funding available because most of the developing countries need now a project to be done which really impact the society, because basic research is done by the other developed countries. They have enough funding. They are doing a lot of basic research. We can use that, but can convert into the technology at a point. So basic research means I'm talking of the science and engineering, and this not the technology part. This is one, and then you go on the thrust area where the much grant is available, like where the focus on what society recently needs, what problems are there, and they need. Like say with COVID-19 related issue, anybody who can make the vaccine, it is a thrust area right now. Not only vaccine, even testing tools, faster testing tools, or fast testing techniques. Not to even you develop a technique, then later on we can talk of converting that technique into tools. But can somebody develop that quickly? And we need it. That is for the immediate impact on the society. So those kind of research falls under the thrust area. You will find a lot of funding available there. So you find a lot of government funds are being given towards COVID-19 research right now. And the cyber security, the kind of cyber attacks being done. Jamtara, everybody is watching Jamtara, and Jamtara is a lot of kissing this and save people from financial fraud. And there are a lot of funding comes in the cyber security. And there can be many areas which I cannot talk here, but these are the immediate research area where certain things are to be done. Immediate agriculture research may be other where I can improve the food security people talk about. These are the thrust area. There's a demand for food security. What kind of technology and tools you can develop? These are the thrust area which also have a huge amount of funding available. And third is but easier to do than the basic research. Third area is the services or the developmental area where you develop technology or tools or give services. And there is also good grant available. And generally, in those kind of projects where the developmental work has to be done, probably the academic institutions like yours or ours may not be in position to develop tools and products, but it needs a huge teamwork where you need agencies at times they need your collaboration with industry, because when you collaborate with the industry, because industry is already in the in the development area where they have good team, large employee, large number of team which are involved in the development work. So with the if you get a project in the institution, you develop certain research, certain tools, and certain techniques which can be implemented by the collaborator in the industry. Therefore, you can develop certain projects. So they look for collaboration as well. It may be national, it may be international. And the development of biomedical tools. If somebody has to develop certain tools like what you call the ventilators, cheap cost ventilator we talk about, can a university can make it? No, it cannot develop it until unless you have also certain from the industry. Enable agriculture may be other one. So whatever I was looking at a friend who developed where the stitching or the button putting the buttons can be done with the machine. So in a sort, then where to put a button, okay, send it through a machine, the machine will mark button should be here, button should be here, button should be here, button should be here. Then it accessory. Go to the next thing. So can this process be automated? Right? Otherwise, maybe manual takes a lot of time. So to develop that kind of project, you can make certain sensors who can sense and distance, and accordingly the machine can move. But putting the sensor and the machine together without help of the industry, you will not be able to do that. So those kind of collaborative projects are also available. And especially if the project is being sponsored by the private agency, and then they will support if you are able to develop some products, because the private industries are all the way need something because which they can also make profit out of it. That is what their survival question is. Product has to be sold in the market and they can have their profit share. That is what their whole idea is. So three kinds of areas, broad areas where research grants are available. Now, the other issue is the types of projects one should look for. There are three kinds of projects which I look for. One is called individual projects, where one individual who is submitting the project is the sole in charge of the project, or you call principal investigator of the project, or coordinator of the project, whatever terminology you use or the funding agency use, that can be used. But these are individual projects. Whether you go to DST, you go to AICT, go to any agencies, they are individual projects. And the institutional projects as well, because those who are heading the departments or those in future will head the departments as well. Not now, that you will head at any point of time. So there are institutional projects where the agency give project to an institution, not to an individual. So therefore, the whoever is the head at point of time will be like AIST used to put some grant for that is modernization of obsolete items. If you have to, they used to give. DST give a kind of fist, I think, funding institutional for science and technology, something like that. This is given to an institution to buy certain equipment for scientific research. It may run to crores of rupees. Where you need a huge equipment grant, they used to give a one-time grant for this. Department support assistant is also given to social science by UGC or UGC at times to develop certain facilities in the school or center. So there are institutional projects as well. So any head or anybody who is going to head, they should also look onto that, which also help in development of institutions. They are mostly given to the government organizations, but probably may not be given to the private organization. I don't know. And then, as I said, that can be collaborative projects. As I said, the third area of development that falls in the collaborative project, and where the funding agency will say, you can take collaborative project provided you have a partner from the industry, right? It may be an individual collaborating with the industry, or it may be an institution collaborating with the private agency. Like say, for example, AICT came with the project proposal in the cyber security. If some company is working in that area, and if an institution or has a collaboration with that combinedly, they can have a project. But that model has certain problem that the institution has also have to some funding, and that matching fund can also add some funding. Then IST will give larger funding and can result in. So collaborative projects may be individual collaborating with the individual, or with the, like say for example, if you are doing a project in the agriculture research, you may be collaborating your institution may be collaborating with the institution on the agriculture. Both of you can jointly submit a project to the agency. So these are individuals from two institutions collaborative, have a collaborative project with from the sponsoring agency, or two institutions, like agricultural institution and a normal technical institution, jointly doing that project. Like say for example, NDRI Karnal, who works on the dairy research, because this I know, the student who did PhD with me in the wireless network went back. He said, my cow's population should be monitored wirelessly. So हर गाय के कॉलर पर हम सेंसर लगा देंगे and then we'll monitor it. Where is the cow at right time, and if I have to milk them or a cow falls sick, the doctor has to go there. And therefore, he said, yes, we know about this, but who will develop the sensor? Who designed the sensor? And say they collaborated with IIT Delhi. So IIT Delhi, some faculty from there collaborated. So IIT Delhi and NDRI Karnal, one investigator from NDRI Karnal, one from IIT Delhi. They together wrote a project and submitted it to Indian Council of Agricultural Research, and from where they got crores of rupees for funding. So technology is designed by IIT Delhi, and the basic input from the domain is given by Karnal. Sensors cannot be manufactured in India, so buy it from Taiwan or Singapore, and then implement the project. So these are collaborative projects possible. I gave an example. And that was individual collaboration. Then yes, institutional collaboration you can say also, because both institutions are given projects, then institution decide who will take, who will not. So both, this is what the types of project you get. Now, after having said this, what kind of project you may get. Now, the general structure of a project proposal we should discuss. The key component. Now, how that should be put in on the papers. That is what we'll talk about, the structure of a project. General structure, though the structure may vary from sponsoring agency to sponsoring agency, they have individual or specific requirement, but they will always need you to write a project summary. Summary means, in short, in a paper you are going to do, how you are going to implement, what is its significance, all those you should have a project summary, because first go they look at the summary, and then you must write the need and importance for this. Why do you need this project? So why this project is required? What is important? That else also must be written on the paper, right? So the project summary you have to write. You have to write the need and importance or significance of the project, why it is relevant, what is its impact. Everything has to be justified there. And right, that is how it is going to be used if it is developed. If you write all those things there, and then it can impress. And then the third heading, the common one, the description of the project, the detailed description of the project. Summary is a short form, sort of the entire your project, but now you should give the greater description of the project. What are the objectives? What is your purpose of the project? And how do you meet those objectives? This is what goes in the description. Then your project methodology or plan, as I said, is a key component, but it must come in writing here as well. So you write that methodology and plan, then your project budget is very, very important. When I talk of your budget, then you need money to implement this or to carry out this project. And this is not about the money you need, but you have to give also justification. Why do you need this money and this much money? A proper justification has to be given. First, you have to give budget, then you have to give justification for that budget. And in your project plan, you should also have that what kind of equipment you need for your project, and what kind of or staff, how many people you need to implement your project. Do you need a staff or not? किस level का staff चाहिए? You need a research associate, you need a research assistant, you need a driver, you need a car, you need land, you need what you call some office. What do you need? So it will depend on the nature of the project. Institutional or academic project may not need the building, the land, but there are projects in the government where you have to create an office, where you need building, you need land, and government pays fund for that. So, but we are not going the large scale project here talking about. We are talking about the institutional. You are a teacher, we are a teacher. What kind of project a teacher needs? Probably land and building is not required, but you need Even furniture may not be required, but you need equipment mainly, and you need some research staff like research associate, research assistant, or a JRF or an SRF, right? So that you need. Then how many you need? Therefore, your budget must be linked with your manpower requirement as well as your equipment, and you must have a justification for that. If you don't give me तो चार आदमी दे दीजिए मुझे इतना पैसा दे दीजिए, it is not being distributed. Whatever you need, you will get it. Until unless it's justified, you will not. I'll talk in detail of everything. But in addition to all those, there are other specific requirements by the sections as per the need of the funding agency. Whatever they need, you have to also write. This is what I am saying, writing. And in addition to that, there are other official requirements which we'll talk of that. The official requirement may be that the project has to be forwarded by the institution, that your department will forward, then your registrar or institutional head will forward it. The meaning here by that is the possibility that the project is run properly. That means any government agency will like that all fund provided by the sponsoring agency has to be spent as per the government rules. Keep that in mind. It's called General Financial Rules, GFR. It's a well booklet, GFR. If you don't spend government money as per the government finance rules, you are going to be in trouble, right? Though the private agencies, like if you got Ford Foundation gives you a project, Ford Foundation ने आपको project दे दिया, या Bill Foundation ने आपको project दे दिया, और या आप क्या कहते हैं आपका Microsoft, Melinda ने आपको project दे दिया foundation ने, then probably they will not require those kind of government rules to be followed. You have more freedom to implement it. But even if the private agencies give fund to the government institutions will always require the government rules has to be followed. But if you are in a private institution and getting fund from the government, you have to also follow the government rules. But if you are in private and getting fund from the private, you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom to spend the money. So this is where some people get also a little hesitant or a little what you call discouraged to take project in past, because you have to follow a lot of mechanism. But I think if you follow the rules, I don't think following rules is not a difficulty. But yes, while following those rules, certain hurdles, certain obstacles. And how do you manage that is important. Like say, for example, in a government institution, I'll say it very frankly, it take you 6 months, not less than 6 months time to buy equipments. L1 कौन था, means who gave you the least prices, then how many bids you have, 1 bid, 2 bid, means you have technical, you have then financial, all those you have to take then tendering, then opening, then giving order, then supplying. If you look at this government organization, this is at times quite discouraging. But I'm not talking from the discouraging point of view, but I'm putting this point here. This happens. It takes longer period because many of us as a teacher, we do not bother about the rules and we do not bother about knowing them and learning them. That is where we fell in trap. So if you are interested in a project, you must also learn those rules and know those rules. I don't think then you'll be in any trouble. And the time which is to take, that time will take. But you can also manage a little faster than what is the time taken if you do not know the rules. And then you keep on roaming, finding the rules and then writing. This one has to keep in mind while you are doing projects. But that is not discouraging, because any project you have to take, you have to implement, and you need to know how to spend money. That is important. Now, when we talk of project summary, I said first part is you have to write a project summary. It is kind of abstract and short overview, like the way you write your abstract in the papers I talked yesterday. Similarly, you can write a short overview or the abstract of your whole project, what That is what the summary of the project means, which may include, it's not headings I'm talking about. This summary must be covering your project goal or aim and its impact on the society, if at all anything, or if it is not impacting the society, it may be impacting your knowledge. It will enhance knowledge in the area that you must clearly write. Then what expected outcome? What do you expect from this project? इसका outcome क्या होगा? अगर if it is implemented, what are the findings? What is the outcome I'm expecting out of it? And then how that outcome will be achieved, in short, and what are the deliverables of project. If the project is implemented, what are you going to deliver? You're going to deliver a product or a technique or a new algorithm or a new protocol or a monogram or a PhD will come out of that project implementation, or a monogram in the research monogram, or a research paper in the high quality journal. What are you are expecting that will be delivered? You are delivering a good quality research paper like transaction level, maybe one outcome I'm expecting, and that will be my deliverable also. Or no, I'll develop a technology, I'll transfer it to so and so research, so and so industry, and therefore the industry will use it. Or I'll developing a product or deliver some technology in agriculture, I'll deliver it to the industry working on the agriculture technology. They will deliver some product. Say for example, one of our colleagues in long back 2004, he talked about he have developed a vaccine for anthrax in 2004. Yes, the project was taken that to develop a vaccine for anthrax. Then while developing that anthrax, he developed a technique for developing vaccine. It doesn't mean he developed vaccine in the laboratory of JNU, because you don't have that kind of infrastructure. But develop techniques by experimentation, that if you do this experiment, you take these chemicals, you do that experiment, then you can mix it up, then you can develop a vaccine. Probably by small experimentation, he might have shown that yes, by this experiment, we have been able to show something which is working as a vaccine. But it cannot be converted into a mass production where this vaccine will be given to the animals and the anthrax will. Then what is the outcome? The deliverable was that this technology will be transferred to the Ranbaxy, and then the Ranbaxy will deliver the project. That is what the deliverable means. So when he did that, he delivered to the Ranbaxy, and Ranbaxy gave funding also for that, and good money at that point of time Ranbaxy gave. Then it happened that the product was, whether it was developed or not, I don't know, but Ranbaxy was supposed to use that technology and then develop product. So the technology transfer to an organization was an important deliverable of that project. So the deliverables are very, very, very important. So in the project summary, if you give these much details, anybody for a short duration who will read your summary will come to know, yes, it is a project which needs consideration. That means when it goes to the project evaluation committee, after assume you submit this project to DST, Department of Science and Technology, then they will invite the expert, and the expert will go through. If they have received 200 projects and they have to only section 10 projects, assume that the scenario, which is a very common scenario in India, that we have high demand and low supply. 10 projects are to be sanctioned, 200 applications came. In a day or two, I don't think all experts can go through the entire 200 projects. So, the summary first. The summary, whether they find that something being talked about very relevant to the society or very relevant as far as the knowledge production is concerned, and then the expected outcome has some sense. They can be achieved or not, achievable or not, and then they can be delivered or not. By reading your summary, this project needs a consideration. Okay, keep this here. Next project, okay, there's nothing in the summary, it doesn't need consideration, keep it separate. So a short term which needs consideration, which doesn't need consideration. Two listings. Then you go through the project in detail, which provides you a good summary. So good summary is very, very important for the point of view of evaluation. I think we'll take a break यहाँ पर है. Dr. Ritika है.
Sure, sir. We can have a 5-minute break.
हाँ, मैं
The
चाय पी लेता हूँ
participant.
तब तक. My chai is ready.
Sure, sir. Participants can also have water or tea at their end if they want.
कुछ
Good to
क्वेश्चन
have
दिया तो चैट पे
refreshing.
लिख दे. हाँ.
हाँ, good to have refreshing break, huh?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
बहुत मेरी आवाज आ रही है साफ या कुछ गड़बड़ हो रहा है?
Yes, sir. आवाज बिल्कुल क्लियर है.
ठीक है. मेरा नेटवर्क कभी कभी गड़बड़ करता है, फिर मुझे स्विच ओवर दो वाईफाई है तो दूसरे पर जाना पड़ता है.
Participants, if they have any questions, they can keep posting their question to in the chat window. Yes, Jyoti ma'am, I have noted your question. Any other participants who have any questions can keep jotting it in the chat window. Anna ma'am is saying interesting and useful talk. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think for all the sessions, we have maintained a continuity that we started with explaining research methodology. Then we moved on to citation management, professional publication ethics, and then we have come over to writing effect research proposals. So I hope the link and continuity is being maintained by all the participants and all of you are enjoying all our sessions. Any feedback of yours is most welcome. You can WhatsApp your feedback to us regarding any improvements you will want in the sessions. Thank you, Bhuvneshwari ma'am. Thank you all the participants for your response. Sure, Shilpa ma'am, noted. I make it a point to generally give an introduction to all participants when they join the session.
I wanted to that introduction of the participants. Like we all are not interacting, so we all don't know who are all from which institutions and which background.
Sure, ma'am. We open the room 15 minutes before every day. So what we will do in tomorrow's first session, we'll have those 15 minutes. We'll ask everybody to introduce each other.
Dr. Ritika,
Yes, sir.
even today, because in beginning many people might not join, even today after the session is over at 6,
Sure, sir.
let's request people for 10-15 minutes to stay so that they can get introduced by unmuting them.
Yes, sir. Good idea. So, ma'am, today by the end of the session, we'll request each one of you, because I hope everybody will be there then. So we'll request each participant to kindly introduce themselves so that you all come to know each other.
Ritika ma'am. Ritika ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one thing is there. One institutions innovation cell na submitted in 2019 one contest, and there is our institute out of 5. So I want to know which activity should be submitted in the contest in India. If then please innovation cell.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I could not get your question correctly. Your voice was breaking. If you could post it, or at the end, if we could take your question.
I posted
here.
in that box.
Madam, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Actually, institution innovation cell, this is being devised to encourage the innovations in the technology.
Yes, sir.
So any kind of the activity whichever you are holding at the institution level by your students or the faculty in say collaboration with any industry or anything, or any in-house activity that you can submit.
Yes, sir.
So just one contest was there, and
Yes.
its result just declared, rating
Yes.
declared. So I want to know how this rating, what was the rating criteria?
See,
That is
that's
one
what it is all over India competition. And since I can introduce myself first, myself Dr. Manoj Tiwari from the AICTE, where we are having the MIC cell at AICTE headquarter, who conducts
Sir,
this all the activities related to innovation.
So
Please tell me.
sir, I just little issue like this ki suppose in college all college members conducted such very great activities. Even I conducted solid waste management activity, and
Yes.
very big popularity, paper news was there, are many such great activity. But
Yes.
if one convener was in our college, suppose, so if he submitted or he submitted then what he should be right, team leader what should be right ki if I conducted only and when during the conduction what she said ki suppose कि भाई you are going to कचरा डेपो कचरा सुंघाने के लिए आप क्यों लेके जा रहे हो बच्चों को वहां पर, साल भर आप हंसते रहे हम पर, और जब आपको एक्टिविटी जमा कर की नौबत आई तब आपने हमारी एक्टिविटी को चुराया. इन द सेंस आई एम नॉट टेलिंग लाइक दिस, बट आपको गरज पड़ी जब समझ में आया कि यार एक्टिविटी जमा करनी
No, that is your institutional level issue. See, that is your institutional level issue. So this MIC cannot do anything in that. When all the entries and all the entries are made once, then they are scrutinized first. So this time we have gone for the institutional level scrutiny, that at least suppose there are 6 or 7 activities or 10 activities at the institutional level. So first you prioritize and then you submit your activity. So that each and every activity is not coming to the national level. Then first scrutiny is done, then second, then finally it is being selected who is the best all over India. So that is the procedure for choosing the best out of all the innovation which are having there.
तो अभी भी एक रिजल्ट डिक्लेयर हुआ है, 4.5 रेटिंग हुआ है, इसके बाद अभी और रिजल्ट आना बाकी है.
नहीं, इस बार का तो फाइनल हो गया ना.
क्या सर?
इस बार का तो फाइनल हुआ है ना अभी.
नहीं, तो ये भी जो रेटिंग आया है 4.5 आउट ऑफ 5, तो दिस इज द फाइनल रिजल्ट.
At which stage you have been allotted this result? I will check. You send me the details. I will check and then you know.
अक्टूबर को एक रिजल्ट डिक्लेयर हुआ शायद, तो 17 को हमें वो मतलब रेटिंग मतलब 16 हाँ एम्बेसडर करके भी था उसमें, एम्बेसडर करके भी था उसमें.
हेलो, एम्बेसडर प्रोग्राम अभी हो रहा है. एम्बेसडर प्रोग्राम अभी चल रहा है और नेक्स्ट मंथ में भी हम लोग करने वाले हैं फिर से एम्बेसडर प्रोग्राम. तो ये सारी चीजें भी चल रही हैं. इट इज इन कंटिन्यूअस प्रोसेस.
तो अभी जो रेटिंग आया है उस रेटिंग में अगर वो जो हमारे यहाँ के कन्वेनर हैं तो कॉलेज में जिस फैकल्टी ने कंडक्ट कराया एक्टिविटी.
Sorry to interrupt. I think we can continue with this discussion at the end. Our speaker is waiting at the moment. Lobiyal sir, thank you so much, ma'am. I request all participants kindly mute yourself. Lobiyal sir, I hope we can start again.
Yeah. I'm ready.
The participants broke into a discussion.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
That is why I was also listening.
Yes, I could make that out because I could see your pointer moving.
Yeah.
Sir, I think we can restart with the session.
Okay. Let me begin with what I said, the project summary. Now, okay. Then you also have some kind of a need about the project, why this project is to be done. The need for this, you need justification for carrying out the project. Which will include, now you must identify the research gaps in the area by your literature survey. And then that also include, when you talk of the need, then the resources available. Or the resources needs to be created. What is the situation? Like say, for example, while we have been working on or writing a project on machine translation long back in the DOE, which is now MIT, whatever the name is called, Ministry of Information Technology. That time it DOE. So now the question at that time was, we do not even today have much resources available in Indian language in digital form, or even in a manual form in many places. So the availability of the resource, right, and at what level the resources are available, then the gaps in the knowledge, gaps in the resources, and gaps in the opportunities for doing that project. All they have to be identified, and then you can justify why do you need this project to be done. And definitely you will say these are the gaps in the resources. Resources are not available. If I'm doing machine translation, I can say that we don't have much data in terms of corpora, parallel corpora available in Indian languages. Therefore, it is a big limitation. We can add to that also. And then we can talk of the knowledge. What is the knowledge base? Now, if you look at the WordNet generator for Indian language, I'm quoting those examples. The WordNet, where you have kind of a dictionary with a lot of synonyms, antonyms, and other kind of issues, also has limited in some languages. It has a limited number of words. Some languages it is not available. So still there are gaps in the knowledge generation and production. The ultimate goal of university is knowledge generation and production, and the product should be generated by and large by the industry in collaboration. But knowledge generation and creation should not be ignored at all. That is what my personal opinion is. And then also the opportunities, the moment I talk opportunities, by creating these techniques and technology, what are the new opportunities for the research or other kind of issues are going to be open or are missing? We are missing many of the opportunities because of this. Let's say, for example, we are developing certain tools and techniques in the cyber security. Because of that, we may not be able to implement certain projects in the country. If that is the situation, then we say, okay, yes, this is going to fill up this opportunity so that further things can be carried. So we have to identify those, and that will justify your need for a project. Then, yes, of course, you have to have a great deal of project description. As I said, that is full project report, kind of a proposal which you put, that has to be added. These summaries and other things I need is a short one, which maybe quick evaluation is required, but the details of project description is required. So therefore, you will find something repeated here as well. Therefore, the aim of the project is very, very important. And then its objectives are to be identified. The moment I objectives and aims, I also said in the project, aim is a larger goal and objectives are constituted sub-goals to achieve the larger goal. Like if I want to become a professor, I have goals. I have to do PhD, I have to do masters, I have to do bachelor's. If I forget about school education, because after school education, if you don't want to go become a faculty, now I'll do my bachelor's, may go to the industry. So the sub goals are: you have to obtain a bachelor degree, you have to obtain a master degree, then you have to obtain a doctoral degree. These are sub goals, and the quick goal is you want to be in the academics. That is your larger goal, aim. So you should be very careful about what is your aim or goal or purpose. Then to achieve that purpose, what are your sub goals, objectives, or these objectives at time may help you to find out your achieving certain milestones. That means what I am saying is these sub goals say that if I complete this sub goal, I can achieve this target. If I complete the objective 2, I'll achieve this target. They can be like, say, for example, if I say I'm doing a project on the language processing, so I said, okay, I'll develop a corpora. Then I'll make a parallel corpora with 2 languages. Then these corpora used to be machine translation. Now, okay, first page I'll make a corpora. It take parallel corpora, may take 1 year. So this is one of the objective to develop corpora, which is in terms of, I say, milestone I'll achieve is a parallel corpora of Hindi and English, say, for example. This objective is giving me this milestone. Then I'll go on another project where I'll do translation. Before that translation, I may be doing certain intermediate knowledge generation. So I'll say, okay, next stage will be some intermediate representation of both the languages has to be developed. So that means if that is my second objective, what I'll achieve as a milestone is that I'll get an interlingua, say, for example, which is a common representation for any language you take. They can be converted to a common language platform from they can be translated to anything. Maybe the another objective. The third objective may be then, yes, finally I will have a translation system which will translate Hindi to English, say, for example. That is the third objective. So 3 objectives at every time you are achieving something. First, you a corpora. Second, you achieve an interlingua. And third, you will achieve a translation system between 2 languages. These are sub goals and objectives which are achievable, also putting achievable targets. You have to be very, very clear about these. Then you have to have a justification significance, as I said in the previous slides, that why this project is important. Maybe like, say, for example, if you are doing a translation for a languages, you are very dying languages, or you say endangered languages, like then you are going to lose a lot of resources because of people do not know language. And if you have an automatic translation system, those documents can be translated at times and can be preserved would be a very good justification for that. So kind of justification look which that this is a very significant project we are doing, and that also can have if have a societal impact, it can be there. If not, whatever impact it is going to have, that has to be mentioned. Then expected outcome. What is the outcome you are expecting from that project, which I said earlier also. That has to be mentioned. Then, and what work has been done nationally, internationally, that has to be very well elaborated, well expressed. And many project sponsoring agencies put it a separate heading. You have to write what is the current state of art nationally, what is the current state of art internationally. That they put in a separate heading also. So that you have to mention, they require it. Some may not mention that, but you write it, it will give a good understanding to the sponsoring agents. Then you should have a good research project plan and methodology that I said. Now that a plan very well tell that the methods to be used for achieving those outcomes. That means what are the techniques and methods and tools you are going to use for achieving the expected outcome which you told earlier. Then once you have achieved that outcome, how to measure evaluation of the outcome. What are the methods and techniques you use for evaluating that outcome, right? And that means what I'm saying is, if you are saying that I'll get this accuracy of translation, then what are the measures you are taking? You should have certain tools you used evaluating that outcome, whether the translation is quality of translation or not, and how to measure that. Either there are certain which will evaluate and give some value of measurement, or you have to develop those. So there have to be evaluation techniques as well and methods. Then, as I said, achievable milestones. In between, I said I'll get a corpora, then I'll get a interluna, so and so. Then you can have a schedule of your project, per chart, whatever chart you need, and then the next 6 months, at the end of the year, what will complete you achieve at the end of 1 year, maybe at the end of 2 years, at the end of 3rd year, if it's a 3-year project, 4 years, 5 years, if it's a 5-year project. But you have to have a good schedule with the timeline, depending on the date of the project, whether yearly to high year, because every year you have to submit your progress report as well as financial statement. Even if a project is sanctioned for 5 years, you are not going to get all money in a 1 year, right? It will be given year-wise, except the equipment grant. Then the question comes, if the grant, the next grant you have to take, then you have to give the what work you have done in the previous grant year. So a very good schedule with the timeline for achieving the outcomes and the milestones has to be worked out and made there. That is important issue in the research plan. And if that is in a now, okay. Then comes your budget, which is important in a sense that you must specify generally, but must be given a tabular form for understanding, and you must give it a budget. A budget has to be every time allotted at the end of the finance year or the beginning of the financial year. So it is year-wise budget, and the details the detail has to be given. And why do we need this much money, whatever? And if you're talking of certain items, then question था क्या है? What is some chat में कोई questions आ रहा था? Okay. Then if you are talking of the equipment, then definitely you have to talk of the cost of the unit item and that quantity you need. That has to be specified very clearly that you need. And then because now some agencies, government agencies also need, when you submit your project, if it is sanctioned, approved, then before release of the grant, they also ask for you some kind of documents from some industry supplier with the what is the cost of equipment and how much money. These kind of documents are also required now. So unit cost and total quantity, then the total cost. And in any project, there are two major heads. That is a recurring grant and non-recurring grant. A non-recurring grant is one-time grant, which you don't need to have it again and again. A recurring grant means you need this grant every year, because this needs to be done every year. So recurring grant is every year you need fund for that purpose, and non-recurring means it is one-time grant. So these are to be made very clearly in this. And therefore the non-recurring grant will incur equipment cost. एक बार if you need equipment, computer खरीद लिया तो 3-4 साल तक उसी पर काम करेंगे. That is what equipment grant. And then maybe if somebody is doing larger project, need land, so land is bought once, one-time grant. And if the building grant, these are other equipment, computer, what is the outreach activity cost. They may be one-time, they may be recurring, non-recurring. It can come in both. I put it here for the timing on non-recurring because outreach, the program you do once in a project, then one-time grant. If it's recurring, then you can put there depending on the situation. The conference workshop may be recurring or one-time, non-recurring, depends on the situation. You put it once, the next is not given. Land building, and then the major grant, what you talk about is not major in terms of money, but is your recurring grant, which you need almost every year. Is the staff you need to have, and that salary of the staff, how many people you need, what is the salary of its staff. And generally, the government funding agency give a salary to a research assistant or associate equivalent to junior research fellowship or senior research fellowship. But some agencies are, if other kind of possibility that can be seen. It's this, and then you can have contingency. The moment contingency I am talking about, that contingency refers to something unexpected happens, or you don't have a plan and then you need to spend. आपका कुछ repair करना है, खराब हो गया, you have to buy it, repair it. So this head you also need. It will recur every time you need it. You need pencil, something, and there is a very a little difference between consumable and contingency. And consumable means the items which you purchase will be consumed. They will not sustain for a long. Paper, if you buy paper, use them, finished. You buy a cartridge, use it, finished. Right, these are called all consumables which are consumed. For that, you need to make a big asset records where you need to keep records at the end of your retirement. All has to be returned. It is not that kind of. In a non-recurring grant, if you bought equipment in the government organization, then I retire, I have to give all details. Okay, ये पड़ा हुआ है, भले ही खराब हो गया, लेकिन मुझे लौटाना पड़ेगा. Otherwise, I'll have to pay the money. So this is what the consumable, non-consumable means. And contingency, maybe it's contingent means immediate requirement which can occur with the emergency or immediate. It may be and consumable, non-consumable both. It doesn't. Then you may also need some travel cost in a project. You need to travel to the project agencies. You may be participating in a conference, and you may be on a field work to collect data, and then you need travel grant. So travel cost per year, how much you need. And if you go for a travel, then you'll go to a field work, then you need to have money for working there, all costs. But all will not require field work. But if it is required, you have to also give a grant. Then sometimes now some agencies may give a publication cost, but not many, because at times nowadays, see, if you go on biological sciences, that most of the journals, at least because they have a color print, they charge for it, irrespective of the quality of even Nature, also charge some cost. So the notion in computer science, especially, okay, this is paid, non-paid. Paid and non-paid has not come from whether you have to pay for the public. Paid and non-paid has come from whether the journal is able to meet the publication cost or not. If either it charge you the cost of publishing, printing or publishing or not, that will depend on the journal's capacity. It came from there, not from there that okay, it charges money, therefore it is bad journal, but it is not charging money, therefore it is a good journal. That is not the basic criteria. But yes, because many journals have come in the market with the quality, and you pay and they will publish. So that also define at times the whole issue. So in life sciences and biology, many journals need printing cost of color printing. So publication cost also is given by at times agencies that you have to make this. And then in addition to that, there's a miscellaneous charges you can put, some agency gives or not. Then sponsoring agencies also pay some overhead charge to the institution. It may be the 10 to 15% of the total budget, what you have put under a non-recurring and recurring. If you add it up, uska 10 या 15%. DST gives you 15%, some also give 10%. Earlier, DOE used to give 10%. I don't know what they're giving right now. I don't have a project from there. And that will come to the institution, because the institution is providing all infrastructure, the furniture, and will pay for electricity, pay for other facilities, and therefore that cost is paid by the sponsoring agency in terms of the overhead of running that project. The overhead of running a project is AC भी use करेंगे आप, whether the AC put there, so you are running AC, the electricity cost, running lights, no. So all these are overheads, and therefore this 10 to 15% is paid to the institution, and institution can spend it as per its will. And good institutions also make what you call how to spend that. They also give that money to the project investigator at times for a better development, because they say we have enough fund to pay our electricity bills, we are paying even though a project or not. Then use that fund as well for some good research purpose. But that is all depends on the institution how they want to spend it. So the total cost of the project is the cost of recurring, non-recurring, and 10 to 15%, whatever the sponsoring agency, that will become the total cost of the project. Right, year-wise, then finally, what is the total cost? So you may all the time will make a budget which is much more larger than the sponsoring agency will say we'll only sanction project up to 50 lakh. आप 50 का नहीं बने, आपको भी पता है 60-70 मिलेंगे तब जाके 50 मिलेंगे. That is what we have a mindset, right? Or even they will not give you 50. It's okay, 50, then we'll give you 40 or 45, whatsoever. But that depends on the many issues. I am not going into that detail. But this is what all budgetary requirements are. Then they will always need a justification for the budget and the equipment and manpower. And say, okay, why do you need these many equipments? So because it has a straight relation with the budget. So you have to have very solid or very solid reasons to justify that. No, I need this equipment, otherwise this work will not be done. For this. I said, no, इतना में हो जाएगा, आपको इतनी क्या जरूरत है? This is how the argument goes at times when the projects are sanctioned. You go for a presentation, they say, no, आपको 4 कंप्यूटर की जरूरत है, 2 ही से हो जाएगा. Why do you need institution? Right? See, the kind of discussions goes I am talking about in a very plain term. So you need a very good justification that you need. Okay, why do you need 100 sensors? So 50 में काम हो जाएगा. Somebody may ask that question. How do you need? No, I need 100 sensors, not 50 sensors. My project will not run. Need a solid academic justification for that. Right? Why do you buy from those? Buy उससे सस्ता देता है. So now the question is, you have to have then why do you need this kind of sensor, not this kind of sensors? You should have all justifications for what equipment you write. And manpower, why need 2 project staff to JRF or SRF? हम तो आपको एक ही देंगे, one is sufficient for this work. You have to have a good academic justification for all. And why do you need this much travel cost? We'll not give you international, I will give you only national flight ticket देंगे, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं देंगे. Then why do you need this much money? How many times you will go? All issues will come. So it should be a reasonable and justifiable relationship between the budget, equipment, and manpower while you design a project. And maybe all other heads, whatever you write, in addition to what I mentioned here, whatever budgetary you give there, you must give. आप ये नहीं कह सकते मैं contingency में 5 लाख खर्च करूंगा एक साल में, क्या करोगे? They'll ask. So it has to be a very justified one. And then other information as required by the sponsoring agency. Yes, of course, need a project investigator will run. And at times, many agencies require a co-investigator, because if the investigator leaves the institution, then who will take the responsibility? That has to be there. Generally, it is required, and or otherwise it is left to the institution. But generally, it is a requirement. And any project you take, it has to be submitted through the institution or the university from the head. What in that is because the university has to give a certificate that they have no objection in getting that project, and you give also a project investigate that you are ready to take it, and university must endorse. That is called endorsement letter. The university and the institution must endorse that project. We also faculty is entitled to this project, and university will provide all kind of infrastructure whatever needed. That has to be done, and your letter should go that you are ready to take this project, and you will abide by all terms and conditions of the project. That is what as a project. It takes time to go to the head, to the institution, and then finally to the sponsoring agency. So anytime you try to do a project, do it timely. That is what I'm saying. Timely, it's not that. Rather, you should be ready with the project if you have an idea in mind. And then whenever some agency has a time open, and then you change it accordingly and then apply. It's not that, oh, DST ka hai to aaj project likhna shuru karta hu. It's not that way the project has to be done. Your mindset is that, okay, DST has come this project proposal, I'll write it from today. And then I'm submitting it last day. It's not the idea of a project. You have an idea and you make it. And whenever some opportunity comes, you use it and change accordingly and use it. So keep that in mind all the time. So they also need a brief CB of the investigator, where the important point when you see CB, we make one CB and give it everywhere. We sit one size fit to all. That is what the notion we believe in, right? It doesn't happen in life. One size does not fit to all. Size ka sabko fit nahi aata. तो अगला आदमी के लिए अलग बनाना पड़ेगा. So now the question is, when you make a CB, see, when you are applying for a project, it must contain only the research articles related to that project area, not all. कि भाई मैं ये भी किया, मैं वो भी किया, not that. And because you will be evaluated, will be able to carry out that project or not based on your research experience in that area. Probably also supervising PhDs in that area. If then you have to mention also that you have been supervising and so many students in there. And about your ongoing projects or the previously completed project, that information, because that also tells the agency that yes, you have an experience of doing project already in hand. If you are not a first timer, but if you are a first timer because you also have a scope, but then it gives an upper hand. And then if you have done the project, what was the importance of the earlier projects? If that is given findings, and it gives an upper edge. And that is why I said, just 1 minute. Okay, this is I have a very small, which I did. So I wrote this with the. I'm not going to share this, but just to show you, you can write a project summary what you are going to do, and right. So this much anybody can read, and then it's big summary, but it could be shortened also. And then you also write certain objectives of your project here. Then keywords, expected outcome, finish, right? And this is how in 2 pages, if you write this summary, then anybody can go through, the evaluators can go through and see whether they will have to go through the entire project or not. If that is done, then you can go on the project proposal, where you have a title of the project, whatever scheme is in the science, you write that, and wherever you are submitting the agency name, and then summary be here, and then you can have keyword, objective of the project. You can have a methodology depending on the requirement of the sponsoring agency as well. What is the expected output or outcome of the project? You can write that also. This is what you say that you expect. Maybe you develop a code or a program application being this, an algorithm on this. and transfer of the code to all those things can be written here. Then you can have a budget in a table, budgetary. What do you need for this? If you look at
So sorry to interrupt. I think you have shifted to a different document which is not visible.
Okay, अच्छा मैं अभी
You will have to share it again.
Okay. आपने देर में बताया मुझे थोड़ा पहले ठीक है अभी शेयर कर
हाँ जी
इसको स्टॉप करना पड़ेगा पहले
नहीं सर यू कैन ओपन दैट डॉक्यूमेंट यू कैन गो टू दैट डॉक्यूमेंट ऊपर वो आपको बटन दिखाएगा शेयर
ओके
इसको आप एज इट इज रहने दो यू कैन ओपन दैट सेकंड डॉक्यूमेंट आल्सो
बस 1 मिनट में करता हूँ
हाँ जी
है कई बार वो गायब हो जाता ना ये आपका
यस वो बहुत सारी वो दिखता नहीं है फिर वो
बस अभी करता हूँ आ गया ना
यस सर
So what I did, I take a sample here now. The sample is that you write a project summary, what you want to do. Then in summary, you can have an objective also there. And then that also depends on the requirement of sponsoring agency. But I made it a small, then expected output, outcome of the proposal. And then you write a detailed project description, which I said you have a proposal on whatever topic you select. And submission for wherever you are submitting, whatever scheme the sponsoring agency has talked about, you mention everything there, and then you start the summary is again copied here, and then you write your objectives of the project, possibly the methodology, what you are going to do, how you are going to do your project, your expected outcome, and this. Then you can have a budgetary overhead, a budgetary allocation. I said, need equipment, first year, how many you need, second year, what you need, third year, how, if a 3-year project. Then you have how many project fellow or staff you need per staff, what is the salary, how many you need, and what is the salary in 3 years, what is the total salary. If you need a field work something, then contingency, then consumables, then travel within India, and the total grant, and total cost of the project in 5 years, if you give that way. And then you have to give the justification for equipment that you need this because this is to be done. Then why do you need this much staff? Everything has to be mentioned here. Then literature review, what we have done and what is done internationally, everything has to be in form of a review work. All right. And then probably the bibliography. You must give that the bibliography, and yes, I put it like this. Then you have to put your CV. And then as I said, endorsement from the university that they will support it, and certificate from the investigator, whatever other document required from any agency. I put a simple one, but this could be the way to do it. Okay, now okay. This is by mistake here. Okay. Now, after this, now when you go for if your project is there at agency, the sponsoring agency finds is suitable to be presented there, they'll say, you come and present your project. And when you go for presentation, it is important that how do you present your, many times you may be writing a good project, but if you are not able to present it properly, that doesn't make much sense. And then it needs what is to be covered in a very short period of time. You don't have much time to present the entire project, and that can impress upon. Yes, of course, I must have aims and objectives and importance and significance, and maybe in very short, the key project which has been done internationally and nationally, and the work in terms of techniques, technology, it has been done very in short. Then you must clearly have a budget and your equipment, and then justification for that is very. I'm again repeating it. That is where the negotiation and they talk and they cut. But before coming to that problem, your objective, aim, significance, and what is the state of art research done in that area, if you cannot impress with that, probably it is difficult to go ahead. So these are very key factors which must be part of your presentation rather than the entire project you put there. You make your slides and present it. Then once you have given a project, you have to carry out as per your plans. That cannot be talked in a lecture like this. Then once you are doing that project, then in yearly you have to give or submit progress report at the end of the year so that you can get next budget. And the progress report must include that how far your project is completed, what are the objectives you have to achieve, right? That must be in the progress report. And whatever activities you have carried out during that period, they must be specified very clearly. This has been done, this activity has been taken, this activity has been taken, this activity has been taken. Yes, you conducted a conference, right? Conducted a conference. Paper has been produced, yes, outcome is one of the paper, writing is being done or it whatsoever. And task has been completed, what task is left. All these has to be clearly mentioned in the project report. And any milestone you have achieved, that should be mentioned. And also the difficulties, challenges you faced during that period also must be part of your progress. And funding spent till then. तब तक कितना पैसा आपने खर्च किया वो भी देना है, but that the university and institution will give you a utilization certificate called utilization certificate. That how much money in different heads you have been able to spend and how much money is left, because those who manage the project budget in the institution and university will give you a certificate. That certificate has to be submitted. It's called UC in short, and it in detail. So every time you do that, within the progress report, you have to submit it, the utilization certificate. And while you are making your progress report, you must be able to make it very clear that yes, you are doing some work and seriously doing, and therefore the next year budget can be given, and that is important. Once you have done this writing of the report, when you complete, okay, then it also must contain that the summary also, because somebody will not like to go through the detailed report. So you can also have a summary of the progress you made in the project. Okay, I have done this progress and this is what is left. And then the list of accomplishment against the plan. आपने पेपर छापे तो लिखिए जो भी किया है अपने प्लान के हिसाब से as per schedule. You must say that this is my schedule, and out from this schedule this has been achieved, this is to be achieved. All this has to be mentioned, and if you have to give, if there is certain delay in achieving certain targets, then you must give a proper justification and explanation that what are the reasons for delay and why that delay happened. All those occurred, and everything has to be mentioned here. And it is a very at evaluation with the expert, and you guessing at times to seriously. Right. And then writing of the, once you have completed the project, then you have to write the final report. And that will, of course, will include the title page, the table of content, executive summary. You have to write what you have done, and the introduction of the project, the work completed, milestones achieved, and then the work remain incomplete because not maybe in every project you will be able to meet all the targets, complete all the work. It may happen, but if you have completed, very good. And then certain discussions that what are the important key issues which you have faced and should have been done, not been done, taken in the project, if taken in future, how the project future plans will be worked out, the future scope and will be taken care of. That these are the possibilities, new avenues coming out this project which you were not to foresee in the beginning. Now you foresee after conducting this project. All that should be part of a good one heading. Then you have to give a conclusion that which will tell about the findings of your project. After completing this project, what are your findings? What kind of results you have, the accuracy of, and then what are your outcomes? And then based on those findings and where those findings will be used, part of recommendation, that based on this outcome, what do you recommend? You recommend a transfer of technology, you recommend a product delivery. What are the, or a policy document has to be made? Yes, in addition that the references, and what right, a big list of references you have to make, that that these are the references what you have taken during that period. Now this is what your final report is. Now before I conclude this and open it for questions, I have not made a slide, but I'll talk about it. Is one important issue is many of you may have already attempted to write a project and submit it to sponsoring agencies at times. But you may have a query, I have written project many times and submitted many times, but it has not been sanctioned by any authorities. It is, I'm not getting the project. That query is all the time there. It's a big issue of demand and supply at times in the country like ours. We have huge demand and we have a small supply. So that way only few projects are going to be accepted. Number two question comes in, that also this issues where नहीं वो भी मेरे साथ ही लिखा, he wrote with me and उसका भी project ऐसी था जैसा मेरा, but he or she achieved it, I do not. And at times there may not be answers for these questions, but at there are a lot of I don't hesitate to say this. I always talk in my lectures, and the networking, nepotism, all works. That is part of the game, but it does not mean that if you have written a good project, you have done a good, you will not achieve it. You will not be. You definitely get a sponsoring agencies. It also depends on your hard work. Yes, because in a system where the supply is less and demand is more, certain favors will work. That happens, and not only in terms of favors, in terms of that you know somebody, you do not know somebody. But what I is there are certain groups and people, institutions, I'll call it, I don't hesitate, that you'll find only they get project, but somebody say they are good institutions, and that is why they are getting projects. But my query is this: yes, I do agree, because the experts will go from the good institutions, and they will always support the good. That logic, right? The experts coming from IITs, they'll support IITs. Coming from the central university, support central. That happens at times. I don't disagree with that. Coming from NITs will support NITs. That is happening in the science project. But I have a different argument to make. I'm not passing my judgment, good and bad. But my only question what I'm trying to raise it, if that is the logic you work on, that only good institutions should get the project, the average institutions will never become good. It's a chicken egg problem that I know my resources, therefore I will not rise up. You cannot, given resources, you have not achieved that level. So it is a chicken egg problem, right? मेरे पास, I don't have infrastructure, I cannot rise, and you don't give me money because I am not at that level. So how do we deal with that situation? That is the key point what I am trying to raise by this, putting this. I am not passing my judgment. Therefore, I always argue wherever I get a chance. I said, yes, you do that, I don't disagree, but also make certain kind of funding for those institutions who want to come up. Encourage them. So if you have 100 crore rupees, yes, distribute 75 crore to the good institution, make this 25 crore for those who are willing to come forward. And gradually they will also come that 75 range. So if you do not divide your funds or your this, and you'll never encourage the average institutions to become good institutions. This is what the policy change has to be brought in. Until unless you do, you always are increasing the gap between so-called good and so-called average institutions, rather than filling the gap. The funding agencies has to be done. I had a discussion when I was dean, the DST came for a fifth evaluation. They said, Dr. Saab, uske baad aapne, maine kaha, dekhiye, until unless you divide, there is a division as far as science is concerned between universities and the institution like IIT and IIT, that the university system is not going to get much funding. And there's no point. So you should have research grant. It's not that the university systems are not doing good work. They also do. So at least make a budgetary provision for separate this. This is done if you really need to fill up that gap. This is the problem which I wanted to talk. That is what I talked about. In addition to other, I'll not. So now to this, but I'll conclude my lecture by saying that a grant proposal should be are prepared based on the research problem and the requirement of the funding agency. And at hand, it's not that since I have to submit a project, I'll start thinking about a research problem. That doesn't work, right? Many projects come with from that creation. They're okay, because my institute का project कह दिया project नहीं लिख रहे, director ने कहा project नहीं, तो मैंने कल से लिखना शुरू कर दिया, right? And that is not the way to write a project. You have to have certain work done, and you really understand, and then you do it. And why you should be very clear about the knowledge of the material and equipment. You must explore that. वो कहते थे ना, हम तो रिसर्च करेंगे सेंसर नेटवर्क में, पता ही नहीं कौन सेंसर बेच रहा है, कहाँ बन रहे हैं, क्या हो रहा है, किस तरह के सेंसर मिलते हैं, ये होगा कि नहीं होगा, सेंसर के अलावा और क्या चीजें चाहिए तुम्हें के सेंसर नेटवर्क. I think you should have very pragmatic and practical knowledge about the area before you write a project. And you have to do a lot of work for a budgetary justification. You cannot do this without this. And then, as I said, outcome must be well identified with the achievable targets. You cannot have any outcome which will not link with the target you want to achieve. And a presentation should be very well focused. That's what one has to make. These are the few references I use for writing my proposal from some website or whatever. I think I put my thought process here as well. And with that, thank you for your patience. And now I'll open for questions. For next 7 minutes, we'll have some questions if there, or I'll.
Thank you so much, sir. I can see a number of participants have questions. Dr. Bhuvneshwari Bisoi, ma'am, can you unmute or should I ask your question? Sir, ma'am has a question. Yes, Bisoi, ma'am.
Sir, actually, I have been thinking for applying for postdoc, but whenever we we have to apply for a project, like project based, because I think the for postdoc, I think we have to apply through project work. So how do you go about it? Like, should I continue with my own the PhD work, or should I think of something new which is related with that?
See, if you are going for a PDF, now the the PDF, right? And PDF is given by somebody already working on certain project somewhere, the faculty or the department. If you say, I am working on this area, I submit a PDF, wherever you are applying, if the work is not being in that area, they will not invite you. So you have to explore,
Yes,
according to your PhD area, you have to explore where in internationally institutions, some who has a PDF opening working in that area, and look at that area and match your, if your area matches with that or not, then accordingly you make a research proposal for there. Then only it will be accepted. So it has to be linked between what is your knowledge, you will look only in that area, and what is where you are applying for a postdoc position, what is their research project going on. If you do not have a link, it is very difficult to get.
sir. Okay, sir. So another thing, sir, like whenever we are applying for it, they want a very brief one. So how do you like highlight the important points in a one page? You have to write down the research proposal, also the the methodology along with that. You like the financial terms or something like that. How do we give the brief about it, like in single page?
No,
And with the
single
word limit
page.
also.
Single page. See, the only idea of the single page is they can only decide based on that. If you are doing for a postdoc, we are talking about, then
Yes, sir.
that also, because generally we'll apply for a postdoc based on your PhD. Keep that in mind. Because you cannot work on a new area all of a sudden, right? Then they will not give you a
Yes,
PDF
sir.
because you don't have experience. So
Yes, sir.
you have done PhD in a certain area, and postdoc, somebody has a postdoc requirement in that area. Now, based on that, what exactly in PhD you have? Your findings of your PhD is very important in one page. Whatever PhD
Okay.
work you have done, your findings and your future directions which you have suggested in your PhD, they are very salient features, right?
Yes, sir.
That will give an idea to the evaluator that what exactly you have done and what is your thinking of your project, and then linking to that their requirement. Number one
Yes, sir.
is whether the work which you have done is a statement of purpose. Okay, then the right statement of purpose.
Yes, sir.
Why do
Yes.
you want to do that? That is when a postdoc will say a statement of purpose internationally.
Yes, sir.
See, the purpose must be linked with the impact of your research, where it is going to be used and how it is going to be used. So
Okay.
your
Okay, sir.
findings of your PhD and its relevance, its impact, and whatever what you call is the nobility you have, and whatever future directions you suggest, that should be your key area. Try to look for. If you summarize that, you can do in one page in a very good manner.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, I think one last question from Danke Jyoti Atul ma'am. Ma'am, would you like to share the experience of Azim Premji that you have cited, or should I ask it on your behalf?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I submitted a proposal, 4 proposal. At least 2 are different and 2 little bit same for COVID-19. Once COVID-19 repair the means ठीक होने के बाद में after कि there is chance कि corona positive. So I submitted this proposal to Azim University, but what my question ki there is any no anyone's rejected and everything is rejected. So my question ki suppose I submitted, so can I able to the same project to another project team or any another institute, because it is now opened to Azim University projects. So can we use these same projects to submit another university?
Now, see, another agency, दूसरे को submit. You have 2 issues are there now.
Submit
Number
कर सकते हैं?
कर सकते हैं, but लेकिन उसमें 2 बातें. See, the first thing is you submitted a project somewhere and that got rejected. It may have multiple reasons for rejection. One is it may not be matching their requirements. Then probably you don't need to modify it much. It meets some other agency requirement, you can submit it there. Second, maybe
So
submit
previous
second
comments,
question.
previous
And
comments
second,
be
maybe,
required that.
yeah, second is if they have given certain comments before rejection of your
Yes.
project, then you must address those comments and then resubmit wherever you want to submit. That will make a sense. Otherwise,
Okay.
the other agency, if they say at Premji's site, I say, okay, these are the comments given, and this person has not a serious person, and not overcome those shortcomings, and therefore there are high chances of rejection again. So you must take those comments into account and address those before you submit somewhere else.
Okay. There is again one project submission are there, and last deadline of the project submission is 30 October.
क्या आपने चारों प्रेमजी वाले में सबमिट किए थे क्या?
हाँ सर, अजीम
एक
प्रेमजी
जगह आप एक जगह चार क्यों सबमिट करते हैं? That see, make ensure that one place submit only one project. If you do that, the first impression goes that you are non-serious. I am very frankly telling this. See, a person does not have a capacity to have work in those
Actually,
areas and those many projects. वही बात नहीं है, but be focused on only one in one agency in life, in future also.
Okay,
That is
sir.
my suggestion. Then it will be taken seriously.
Yes, sir. I will improve myself like this.
Yes, one agency, only one project.
Yes, sir. After this session, sir, I want to discuss about IISc. First, you completed your whatever QA question answer session.
No, you can interact with my email. I will be not free after this. I have another. So you can take my email and whatever queries are, you can exchange on email.
Ma'am, I'll be sharing sir's email with all of you. So, ma'am, you can ask your query regarding IIC to sir. Sir would be the right person to answer that. I thank you, sir, so much for this wonderful session on the art of writing proposals for research projects. I am sure that all our participants are enlightened by this, and now we can actually write better proposals for applying for research projects. We cannot give any to your time, but please accept this simple certificate of remembrance from our side to remember this particular session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ritika, and thank you, Professor Hoda Saab.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a wonderful session. And I also thank all my participants who have been with us through the session and have clearly asked sir all their queries regarding research projects. Thank you so much, sir, once again for being with us and taking time out from your busy schedule. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'll close it because I have other.
Yes, sir. Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.